key constructs and the map. So first of all, as we move into this paper, let me discuss the key constructs that have been used and give you an overview of the paper. L1, similar as first language, and as we discussed before also, and to remind you, first language is any language that the child learns at home, and this is the language that has been acquired in informal settings, and it can be any language. Now we are talking about theories, because we are just talking about theoretical framework. The paper is not based on some empirical research as such. So by first language can be any language. So it can be Punjabi or anything that has been learnt at home. Second language is any language or languages that have been learnt in formal settings. Again, this can be English and it can be Urdu also. So when you think about the first language of your learners, please bear in mind, not all the learners in your class have the first language as Urdu, and several of them actually learn Urdu in schools. Then the concept of language awareness, I'll use this concept. This is actually a theory, a pedagogical theory, and it is again a sort of a term because within this language awareness are several theories working underneath. But the concept of language awareness is to draw attention of the child to the way language actually works, and to draw especially the attention of the child to how the form and meaning actually interact with each other. So it incorporates all the theories that are focusing on knowledge about the language when the child is learning a language. Now, most of the times, please remember, we don't want to go wrong with it. At times in government schools, all we do is just language awareness. We just tell them how about the language rather than teach them the language itself, especially if we are talking about English. In any case, language awareness would mean meta-linguistic awareness of language. Meta-linguistic is about language. How does it work? How do when we change from active to passive, how does the meaning actually change? How do we actually draw attention to the form of the language when it takes, when we want to express a different meaning? This is all about the same. And again, there is this critical language awareness. We see how the simple intonation, inflection, or within the language can actually change the meaning of the whole utterance. In any case, we are using language awareness in terms of this broad consciousness raising, drawing attention of the child regarding how the language works and talking directly about it. In that sense, it is different from communicative methodology. In communicative methodology, which we emphasize a lot, the teachers are supposed to present language in a way that it somehow, the tasks given to the students allow the students to use the language in communicative events. So we try to create those speech events, and we try to allow the children an opportunity to use the language and to understand the language in a context that is relevant to them. So in that way, this language awareness is not in competition to it. We are not saying either do language awareness or do communicative methodology, but we say along with communicative methodology, How can language awareness help? This is what we are talking about. Remember when you, in your classroom, for instance, give lots of exercises to the child to do, especially in grammar, once you have explained the rule, that is not communicative methodology. Communicative methodology is the presentation of language in real life situations, or at least in simulated, you role play or something, and then the students also use it, the standard structures. Language awareness is when you stop after the communicative methodology and then you try to explain what the underlying principle or what the language form that you were teaching was about. So the map or the overview of the paper is this way. We begin with a historical journey. We look at how over the years in history, in research, the role of first language and second language has evolved. Then we move on to analyzing the role of L1, that is the first language, under this theory of sociocultural theory of learning. Then we see how does the first language stand if we are using the pedagogical theory of language awareness. And then we move on to our discussion and conclusion.